Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. With me, your host Owen, guys, coming to you on Sunday, the 28th. Well, guys, it's over. Season's over now. It's all done and dusted. And as Michael Beale said in his press conference on Friday, good riddance to that season. Obviously, I know the Scottish Cup final is still to come, but we don't really care. As obviously we're not involved in it, and we really don't want to know how that lot from across the city are going to get on it. Genuinely not interested in the game in the slightest. Our focus obviously needs to be on our club and on the hopeful rebuild that's going to take place this summer. It's going to be a momentous summer for Rangers, a huge summer, summer quite like any other, I think, in terms of the number of players coming in and the number of players going out. And we'll talk a little bit about that shortly. Obviously, we reflect back on a good end, a positive end to the season. I think that's the right way to say it, a positive end to the season with a 3-0 victory in Paisley over St Mirren. That is obviously got to be the biggest, the most positive news out of yesterday. Um, a great good performance by this man here, Fashion Sakala, who scored 2 goals. I mean, granted, obviously the 2 goals that he scored, the defending and goalkeeping have got to be called into question on both of those goals. But however, if you don't buy a ticket, you can't win a prize. And certainly, Fashion showed a good deal of ability to cut in from the left hand side, beat a fair few players, and smash the ball into the net twice on 2 occasions. Obviously, as well, great to see Antonio Cholak back. See this man back and amongst the goals. Antonio Cholak obviously has had a fine first season despite those obviously those injuries. When quizzed about Antonio Cholak's future at the club, Michael Beale was heard to comment about Cholak that he really does need to stay fit. That was one of the biggest, most overriding messages from Michael Beale was the fact that Antonio needs to keep himself fit, and if he's going to keep himself in the reckoning, no real commitment obviously on whether or not Antonio will stay next season or whether he will obviously play a part next season. Now, personal opinion, I think Cholak should stay. I think he'll form a useful part of our strike force. I think we need three, probably realistically 4 strikers in the squad next season if we're going to obviously compete on a number of fronts. The SPFL, the Scottish League Cup, the Scottish Cup, and obviously in Europe as well. Hopefully in the Champions League. Cholak obviously can contribute to that. Now, I'm not saying for a minute that Cholak is the answer up front. Um, you know, he can score goals and certainly he can have an impact as we saw today. But he certainly I think could form part of that rotation of strikers. Something that we do need to add to and do need to develop very badly. Also, I think special mentions today for the performances of these 2 guys here, Nico Raskin and John Lundstrom. Now, John Lundstrom is someone who has garnered a fair bit of criticism this season. I've been one who has criticised John on a number of occasions. Obviously, the Viaplay League Cup final where he was exceptionally poor. It was heard to comment from some Rangers insiders and Rangers reporters that he looked like he was towing a caravan. Such was the poorness of his performance. But many people feel that may have well been down to the fact that John was carrying an injury. Um, that is one possible reason for his poor form. The obviously reason is the fact that obviously until the arrivals of Nico Raskin and the return to fitness of Ryan Jack, Lundstrom was asked to do far too much in midfield. Nico Raskin's signing in January certainly helped. The improvement of Rangers midfield. And Lundstrom has proved himself, in the last few games to be a very effective, very flexible member of the squad. He's played in central midfield, looked pretty good at holding, but also good at getting forward at times. He was really freed up when Ryan Jack came into the team, and him and Nicholas Raskin were put into a 3-man midfield with Ryan Jack. Today he played centre half alongside John Suter, and I think he really did equip himself rather well. Nico Raskin again gave a fine performance, thrusting forward. Always looking forward, good forward passing, some nice bits of skill, including a little nutmeg out on the touchline on one of the St Mirren players late in the second half. Nico Raskin has certainly been someone who has come in and really added to this squad. and played exceptionally well. But I think special mention deserves to go to this man here, John Suter. Now, John Suter is someone who we all know has the skill and the talent and the ability to become a very good defender, but injury has always held him back. And certainly, this season is no different. The injury that held him out of the team for an awful long period of time. Now he seems to be taking the opportunity that's been presented to him. Obviously, Connor Goldson is out for 10 weeks. Ben Davis is out. And John Suter has had to step up and really be the leader at the back, and he's certainly done that and played very well against Hearts the other night. Um, Played very well against Hibs in Edinburgh, and I think played very well again today against St Mirren, and really did give a fine performance at the back. Certainly a very talented player. Now, if we can keep him fit, if we can keep him, in the form that he is in at this moment in time, he will be an absolutely vital part of Rangers defence next season. And I think a really dominant centre half as well, someone who could save Rangers an awful lot of money. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think we do still need to bring in one more centre half, but I think the fact that John Suter has really stepped it up and really performed exceptionally well. Now, if you obviously pair him with returning to full fitness Connor Goldson, you have a fairly formidable central defensive partnership there. And Suter has obviously, I think, got stronger and better game on game. The challenge obviously is keeping him fully fit, keeping him healthy, and keeping him raring to go as the season progresses. And I've got no doubts in my mind that if Suter does that, he can get himself back in national team contention. And certainly, I think in the future, if he continues playing as he is, even using this player trading model that James Bisgrove spoke of the other day, could command a hefty fee from a team down south. But definitely full credit to John Suter for his very, very good performance today. But like I said, a 3-0 victory, all very good. We finish second place and good riddance to the season. Let's obviously focus on next year. Now, obviously, Rangers have already added to their squad for next year with the acquisition of, on a pre-contract at least, of Kieran Dowell. Him with that really irritating new song. I'm not going to sing on here because I don't want to put you off the video, and I don't want to obviously cause any bleeding of the ears, which is obviously a strong possibility if I was to sing. So, what do we know, obviously, of this summer rebuild? Well, there's been a number of names linked, isn't there? And obviously, Jose Cifuentes, Jack Butland, Dujon Sterling are described, obviously, as the deals that are closest at this moment in time. More news coming out of America that the Jose Cifuentes deal is getting closer. Is moving forward. It could be a case though that we do have to wait for Cifuentes. It depends how willing LAR are to release him, obviously before the end of his contract. If that was the case, a fee would have to be agreed, and obviously then you've got a situation with the two teams agreeing a mutual fee, and obviously the two clubs agreeing to pay that fee. Well, one club agreeing to pay that fee, and the other club agreeing that that is an acceptable fee for the player. That is obviously something that that is going to be down to Rangers to obviously negotiate that fee and come to an agreement with LAFC. But at the end of the day, Cifuentes looks, from what I've seen on tape and reading reports about him from MLS reporters and reporters who specialise in LAFC, he does seem a very talented player, slightly more offensive looking than Raskin, and obviously than Jack and Lundstrom, for example. But certainly, someone who could add to this team. Obviously, the biggest concern for Rangers fans is the centre forward position. Now, obviously, this is on a couple of points. Number one, obviously, is that Alfredo Morelos, who has been our prime striker for a number of years now, will be moving on in the summer. Quite to where yet we do not know, but obviously there was pictures taken of Alfredo flying out of the country the other day, which were published to Twitter. Rumours have it that he is in France. In talks with Lille, apparently, who obviously one of the teams that tried to sign him way back. Kind of rubs salt in the wounds a little, doesn't it? But it said that apparently, obviously, if if the club, if that Rangers do very much need to bring in a new centre forward. They do need to obviously target some centre forwards. Now, one player they were linked with was McToutse, who is a striker from the French league. However, even though the fact that he has played the majority of the season in the French second division, he is on the verge of commanding a huge fee from AC Milan, who are reportedly interested, of £10 million. Certainly not in Rangers' price tag at this moment in time. Well, certainly if they want to bring in more than 1 to 2 players over this summer transfer window. That has obviously encouraged encouraged Rangers to look perhaps at some players further down the League Two pecking order. Obviously, chief amongst them is the Josh Madger link. Um, this obviously would be a fee as well to be paid to when the region of 5 million to £6 million for the services of Josh Madger, who is a very talented striker. But obviously, as Madger has said, he's not prepared to make a decision until the end of the season in France. But certainly that the pull of European football, the pull of Champions League or Europa League football, the chance to win trophies certainly could persuade Madger to move from League 2 or even League 1 with Bordeaux should they be promoted, and obviously take on the challenge of playing for Glasgow Rangers. A number of other strikers have obviously been linked, the likes of Ike Ugbo, for example, been one of them. But the fact that their goals to games ratio is pretty poor, certainly does turn me off as a fan bringing these guys in. And we do really need to be looking to bring in the best possible people up front to move this club forward. Especially when you consider that Michael Beale has talked at great length about the fact that being clinical in front of goal is very vital, and he feels that this team and this club does not do that at this moment in time, and does need to improve that. So someone like a Josh Madger, someone like a Kristovic, or Mateo Freegan are certainly players who could add to that. But he did very much talk about the fact that he wants to bring in a bit of experience, not experience in terms of age, but experience in terms of playing in the highest level, playing in Europe, and being used to playing for a big club. Which obviously, when you come to Glasgow Rangers, is something you've got to be used to. Glasgow Rangers is a huge, huge club, one of the biggest in European football, and that is something obviously you need to get used to. Obviously playing this coming season if you were to transfer to Glasgow Rangers. But it's obviously the end of the season, guys. We're ready to move on. We're ready to think about this off season. This off season that promises so much for Rangers. This off season that was promised to be very exciting with the number of players coming in and the number of players going out, which obviously Michael Beale has refused to be drawn on. Although Michael has made past comments, hasn't he? As regards the number of players coming in and the number of players going out. Talking even up to a dozen after that semi-final defeat to Celtic. Certainly only time will tell in terms of who will be signed, and and what positions will be addressed, and how many of each position will be signed by the club. Obviously, but a very big, massive summer ahead for Rangers. But we've got to look on the positive side. We've got to trust in the process. We've also got to trust, obviously, the fact that that Michael Beale will get this right. Michael Beale obviously has a good eye for a play. You've only got to look at Todd Cadwell and Nico Raskin to make that judgment. Well, guys, that's pretty much it for this morning. And like I've said on a number of videos now, and on the live stream yesterday, over the summer break, this channel will not be shutting down. It will not be pulling back. It will still continue to bring you news stories, breaking news stories, transfer news, and obviously podcasts. Some great ideas of podcasts as well coming up from Victoria. But the only way to make sure you get all that great content is hit that sub, ring the notification bell, and guys, if you give the video a like, it does help matters. Well, I'll back to speak to you again really soon here on Glasgow Rangers Nation.